Hi, Imogen Crawford, very much a practitioner. I think we will probably agree that EIA is a process, or any IA is a process, but aren't we rather stopping short on this? At the end of the day, an IA is only as good as it's effective on the ground, in the field, usually being practiced by people who are not environmentalists. We're talking about construction managers and the engineers. And just working through, scoping is only a prelude to the next stage where you spend most of your money on the field surveys. Significance leads on to mitigation. Mitigation requires a lot of dialogue with the engineers, because this is where environments are moving out of their field of expertise into an engineering field. So my comment really on this is, should we not take it further to the whole process, to getting in touch with environmental management plans? Draft management plans are as much a part of the IA, because they are then feeding on to the next step. And going through to what Maria was saying, we're moving down into effectiveness, areas of effectiveness. I think we're stopping short.
Yeah, but you're right. It's true, we should also do that. But what we say, you can't go into effectiveness perhaps if you're not solving these issues also. So yes, there are more issues to raise later on also. Charlotte?
Thank you. Ben raised a question that I'd like to relate to the scoping issue. And that is, we're talking about the new kids on the block with different types of impact assessments. And I come from a tradition where you did do health, and you did do social, and you did do gender, and all those other things were always part of the environmental impact assessment, whether you called it an EIA or environmental and social impact assessment. And I mostly work in the developing country context, in which having another document hurdle would rarely be appreciated. And so what I'm curious in terms of this question of scoping, and maybe it relates to significance as well, is how would you decide, or would somebody in the developing country context ever decide, that the topic was so important that we needed a health impact assessment as opposed to integrating it within the EIA or any other kind of?
Yeah, the silos of impact assessment actually you're talking about, eh?
I'd like to put that up as an orphanage.
Yeah. Two lasts.
Okay,
Heikki Collin from Estonia. EIA is a practitioner, mostly doing SCAs last years. But the thoughts I have looking at this process description, especially this graph that Jos showed about these stages and tiering, was that we are still tend to think impact assessment as a standalone process, so that I just extend my thought, and then perhaps is it orphan or not, but you can decide. But we are given some ideas, then we are launching impact assessment process. And then we tend to think that the world outside is standing still. They're waiting the result. So that after the wise guys are getting showing results and doing mitigation measures and follow-up plans, then the world somehow wakes up and starts to move again. So that I think the world doesn't stand still. There is plans and strategies made outside, and also this plan or project, what was actually the object of this particular ACA or EIA, and I think what at least in my practice, what we are talking more and more is the integration. Is the really thinking about how close or how far should impact assessment stand from actual generation of those ideas? Is it the decision making or somebody making strategy, or perhaps sometimes it's strategies made inside of this impact assessment, but sometimes it's made outside of it. So that basically this how it's related to the decision-making process and the actual generation of other ideas, or actual relation to the other strategical processes that happen at the same time and very closely related to this particular impact assessment we are doing about. I think it's a question for you all. Is it integration, or perhaps we can find another name for it, but name it however you want, but still, I think it's an orphan.
Integration is an orphan. I think, yeah, that's a big issue, a very big issue. Okay, I had two people. I saw you and Anna Miller. You had also. Oh, okay, Sarah.
Yes, I'm Sarah Gonzalez, and actually I am older than I look. And the reason why I say that is because I had the pleasure to participate on a very good training session that used to exist back in the 90s. And at that session, we had the benefit of having, for 2 weeks, all the more relevant people working on the area of EIAs. We had, I'm talking about the old training that University of Aberdeen, back when it was called CEMP, yes. Central for Environmental Management and Planning, used to run. And we had people like Barry Sadler, Larry Cantor, Charlotte Bingham, everybody who was a leader in any area together. So that was an excellent school for me. And I think that nowadays, practitioners, we are the orphans, in the sense that I have never seen an effort like that put back together when, after many years of running that course, it went away, and nothing, I think, even close to that, it's available anymore. And that was really excellent school for practitioners. So it's just a thought that we should kind of think back and see if something like that can be put together again.
Yeah, I think that's great. Very good what you're saying, the practitioner as an orphan. That's actually what we are talking about, all this practice and how we relate it back, a theoretical reflection, and then improve ourselves.
Your point is actually going to be addressed in the next session after lunch. There's a session where we have experts, and they're going to present on the basics of impact assessment again.
101.
So, yeah. So it's just an hour and a half, but it sort of talks to your point, I think, where we need to get the experts together again to share their wisdom.
We're going to do it in an hour and a half, what you did in 2 weeks.
Yes.
Okay, I want the panel members also to have a sort of a reflection what they have heard, what they thought was very important, and then we will have this adoption scheme. Because I think before going out, we really need to not only talk about here nicely, but next year there should be a session at the conference about these issues.
Yes, maybe I just want to give, before we do that, just Paul a chance to share. Is they're doing a survey which talks to the whole issue of the lawyers are taking over, the litigation issue. So yeah. Maybe Paul, just quickly.
The only thing I want to ask people to fill in a form which is at the GHV booth. What we are doing is ask to give your opinion about the future of environmental assessment, and maybe we can share the outcome of it in one of the IAI newsletters. Maybe another thing I want to say, what I heard about all the things until now, is that I miss a little bit the connection, maybe the fear between the practitioners and the academics. I heard a lot of things you did, talking about the things from the 1980s and the 90s and even the 70s and 60s, and all articles you were talking about are academic articles. And I think, maybe I'm not really good enough But I think it's good to have the combination between what's happening in the outside world, everyday practice, and what does that to this discussion.
Okay, for sure. It was actually trying to grasp what is in practice was happening in many of these articles, to wrap up and to get the major headlines, what you could see, what we can learn out of practice. But that's perhaps what we say about this orphanage, that these issues, this system of connecting practitioners and the more scientific oriented people, what is the wealth of IAIA? It's the strength of this conference, that not only academics are here, not only practitioners, but they are both here from different groups, different disciplines, and that's really what I think we try to encourage here, that this mechanism of interaction is again there, and that it is published in academic, less academic journals, but at least that it is available out there to go to a higher level. So good that you raised this. This is very important. We should have it there when people go out. Make sure that you are there at the moment, and also at the booth of DHV you can find it.
Yeah.
But I think it's very important that now we hear the panel members what they think about the discussion and how they view their orphans before we go on to the adoption proceedings.
Okay, thank you very much. Jos, just from my side, I think the one point, or the one issue that I pick up reading between the lines is that flexibility, I think, should be a principle of environmental assessment. And I think we don't have the flexibility anymore to really tailor EIA necessarily the way we would like to, because we are guided by regulations and very strict procedural requirements. And from where, within South Africa, that's a very, very big issue at the moment. And from what I hear from the floor is that I think maybe it's a broader issue in other countries as well. So I think we've lost a bit of that flexibility to do the right thing. And that's the one issue. And then I do think we possibly do discuss these issues in sort of hidden discussions in other sessions. And I think it will be a good idea to maybe, as Alan said, have sessions at the next conference where we actually have screening or scoping the title of the actual panel discussion, so that we can get these people who talk about some of these issues in other sessions to actually get them together to deal with the issue. So, Jos, that's all I have to say. Just on I would like you to keep on thinking about other orphans, which you might have missed. We've only got the one orphan that I picked up is the issue around silos, which Charlotte raised, and the integration issue maybe.
Agricultural.
Yes, agriculture, forestry and fishery. Yeah.